Hi, this is Joseph Anthony of the Wonder Child blog. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I'd like to share with you some of my thoughts about a curriculum subject in the Waldorf schools called form drawing. And it is sort of unique to the Waldorf movement, but I think its purpose and implications from its lessons can be utilized in any school setting. And really, well, really ought to be, frankly. But anyway, these are my thoughts about form drawing, especially form drawing being taught in the early grades, first grade-ish, that kind of thing. They don't represent the school I teach in or anything like that. These are my thoughts, and I want that to be clear because there is, as with every facet in the Waldorf movement, there's usually 2 or 100 camps of everyone saying they have really the precise Steinerian way of doing something. And so these are just my thoughts that I've collected over my 16 or so years teaching in the Waldorf schools. And what I encourage you to do is watch this video and ask yourself questions. You feel free to write and ask me questions about why, if you want some more detailed answers about what I'm doing. The main thing, if you are charged with teaching form drawing to a group of children, first grade children, to your own child if you're homeschooling or something, ask yourself, what is the purpose of this lesson? Why am I doing this? Not why Steiner suggested it, not why your teacher training suggested it. Why are you doing it to the child or children in front of you? For me, form drawing was an exercise in joy, an exercise in seeing form in the world, in themselves, in the room, in nature. It was, of course, pre-writing skills, fine motor skill development, eye-hand coordination development, but it was also an exercise in beauty, an exercise in transforming rigid ideas. More and more children, it seems to me, are coming to us with a lot of fixed ideas already, and helping them develop a flexibility and ease in thought and feeling. Helping them develop a skill to breathe through the tasks we are asking them to do, and the world is asking them to do. And so for me, form drawing is really about beauty, developing an inner confidence and inner flexibility to make connections, to see form and beauty in the world. Very large concepts for something as simple as drawing some lines on a page. So, that's my purpose. Your school and you may have your own. But that's what I've come to for me. So, I say all that because there are some people who believe, because Steiner said the line in a form drawing is the subject and not where you can find it in the world, that you ought not to color that line. You ought not to decorate that line in any way, any ornamentations or anything. And they take that one quote as if that's it. To me, Steiner also said, one of the things we are called to do is to help people see beauty in the world. To see form in the world. If we can see the world as beautiful and as art, it will deepen true religious feelings. So, I say all that to say I let my students decorate their forms. And I'm going to give you some examples of that in a minute. Some people really feel very strongly that if you decorate a form or color it in any way, it detracts from the form. from the line. And for me, keeping with my purpose for form drawing, there is nowhere in nature, where a form is divorced from color or beauty. So, Steiner may have said, and one of the original purposes for form drawing was to develop a relationship with a line and to understand and to experience all that. Nothing wrong with that, obviously. But I'm expanding the purpose for today's child. I just am. Today's child, I really believe, longs to contribute something of themselves to a lesson. Not only do they long to, I believe they ought to. My authority as a teacher is not in any way threatened if a child contributes something, even a first grader, to a lesson. As author of the class, someone who helps write the story of the class, well, it's a story that we are all writing. And I say that to say, if I'm drawing this, for example, if I draw this, and one of my dears says, "That's a snail!" I say, "Yes, it is. Of course it is." And after they have practiced it in the air, on each other's backs, perhaps in sand, perhaps on a slate board, with a wet sponge or brush, and then they draw that, to me, there's absolutely nothing wrong, in any way, shape, or form, with them making it. A snail. Oh my goodness, can't have a snail without ground. Or a leaf. And oh my goodness, they may actually color that snail. They might. They may color it in, so to speak. Oh my goodness. My only guideline for my students, if they colored in a form or decorated that way, was that I could still see the form. For me, I had to see the form still, but if they made it into a snail, and they gave the snail a hat, that's going to live in them deeply, with joy, than it would be more than if I just did the spiral. Now, there's nothing wrong with just leaving the spiral be there on the page, blank, just the way it is. Nothing wrong with it. However, to me, it's too intellectual, it's too cold. Even the most graceful of forms, a graceful running, wavy form, just black and white on a page, to me, is far too intellectual and cold for the heart of a first grade child. That's just my way of looking at it. So if you're going to let your students do that, just know why you're letting them do that. I've actually done it both ways. I've had first grades where we just did the form with no color, no decorations. And I've also done it where they could make that form into something they see in nature or imagine in nature. And I'll tell you what, those classes were quote-unquote funner than the ones where it was just the form on the page. Now, not all supposed to be fun, oh my goodness. Yeah, but why not? In first grade especially. In first grade especially. The overarching purpose for me as a first grade teacher in a Waldorf school is to help them, the students, feel comfortable and to love being there. And so form drawing helps develop a sense of wonder and making connections with form and a line and the world around them. So, all that said, I did keep the archetypal straight and curved just straight and curved. I left it just like that and let it stand on its own. And I introduced the straight and curve on that first day of school with a story called The Great Secret of Beauty, that eventually the students realized that the great secret of beauty is those two lines working together with color to make the world. So that's the great secret of beauty. And of course we worked with finding those forms in our bodies, making a straight line, making a curved line. We used our form drawings. If we did a running form, and if we did a running form in first grade, we may make that form out of string. You can do that. If my students see that and they say, "Oh, that's waves." Yes, yes it is. May I color it? Yes, you may. May I make a boat? Yes, you may. Why not? Really, why not? I have found no sufficiently satisfactory answers as to why not, in my experience, reading Steiner and many other people. So, you have to decide why you're doing form drawing. And of course, use it therapeutically. For me, every drawing you do is therapeutic in the sense of it healing and nurturing some part of the soul and the mind and the body and the heart. But of course, if you have a real scattered student, you could of course do a spiral in maybe a little teensy one, right? If you have a very sanguine, out there kind of kid, and you may have them do a spiral that is a squared spiral. Why not? You can have them come out. If they're too melancholic and inward, well, then have them come out. If they're too rigid in thought, well, then you could do that wave and even complicate it a little more. All kinds of things you can do with just a drawing, right? Incorporating beauty and color in with form. Because as I said, it is never void of that in nature. Never. People like to quote Kepler and other Greek philosophers about the importance of lines and straight and curved and all of that, and how they're divine gestures. And the world is created with straight and curved lines and lines and form. I'm not arguing with any of that. Nowhere in the created world are those lines void of color and beauty. It just doesn't happen. So, have your form drawing lessons be a celebration of form and beauty. Movement come to rest on a page? Sure, why not? Movement come to dance in the air? Sure, why not? Movement and form that is connected with something in nature? Please do. Oh yeah, that's another thing I want to say. I would encourage you to encourage your students and yourself when you're teaching it to have the process of the form drawing, the actual drawing, be what is most truly important rather than a perfected, finished product. A lot of today's children, that finished product is the key. And it's very materialistically, you got to do it like that. Have them enjoy the process, and you can do that by you enjoying the process. And just to summarize that a little bit, because I only touched on it, you can have them do a form in the air with their hand, right? You could have them do it on someone else's back, gently. Work in sand. And when I mentioned doing a form, I have these little slates, and so they could do, we'll stick with the spiral there. They could do a spiral with a little wet sponge or a brush, and then take a dry rag and erase it over and over. Not erase it, but dry it over and over. And they're getting that form in there pretty good. And you can do it, of course, in chalk also on these little slate boards. And so they're doing it in the air and on slate and on paper. And afterwards, as they make the connections with nature and the world around them, oh my goodness, experiment. Let them color it, see what happens. If you don't like it, then don't ever do it again. And you can write me and tell me so. If you do like it, and it works out pretty good, you can write and tell me that too. Anyway, so those are just some thoughts about form drawing from me, Joseph Anthony. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. If you would like any further thoughts, feel free to drop me a line or give me a call. I'd be happy to help in any way I can. Thanks for watching. Take care.